YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy Carl coming back at you with Golden Grimmett Productions with another reaction. This time on my plate, we're gonna be doing Making the Case, Larry Bird. Once again, hey, I greatly appreciate y'all for the continued support as well as all of the suggestions for the videos that I'm to do. It means the most to me. Yesterday, y'all killed it. Y'all turned the channel up. So many people commented, so many people watched the videos. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It may not seem like a lot to some people, but it's like humongous to me. You could have been doing anything else, but you took time out to watch my video, and I greatly appreciate y'all. As long as I'm doing this, I'm going to try my hardest to like every comment, to comment to as many as I can, because I want to be interactive with my fan base. I'm a regular guy, so quote me on it. Even if the channel does take off, I'm still gonna be the same person I am. You know what I'm saying? So thank you so much for the support. Thank you for being there. Thank you for helping me elevate, um, keeping me on my toes as far as this information goes. That way I don't slander someone by accident or if I have misinformation. Thank you for the correction. I take all criticisms the way I need to. I'm always listening. I'm always writing things down, and I love y'all. So this video was recommended to me by actually a lot of people in the comment section. So thank you for the comments. All right, we're gonna get into this video. Also, if you are new, please like, share, and subscribe to the video. It greatly appreciated. It helps the channel out tremendously. Y'all crushed it so good yesterday that I'm literally maybe 9 subs away, or 11 subs away from 1,000. But it's all not possible without y'all. So without further ado, Making the Case, Larry Bird.
Basketball is special. The size of the court and the lack of pads or helmets give fans the most intimate experience of a team sport that exists. And because of the different styles that basketball allows for, players develop their own distinct identities and signature styles through their creativity,
True.
flair,
Facts.
and athleticism. And although no player succeeds alone, the scoring volume and two-way nature of the sport give individual stars a nearly unprecedented amount of control over the flow and outcome of a game. For this reason, players are constantly compared to their peers and to the legends of the past in order to answer the most hotly contested question in the sport: who's the greatest to ever do it? For many, the question is redundant. They believe in only one right answer: their answer. Others might have their own personal stance, but acknowledge one or two alternatives. But I believe that there's much more nuance to the question of greatness and more answers to it than you might think. By my count, there are 8 players in NBA history that have a substantial claim as the GOAT. It's a subjective thing though. I can't give you a definitive answer. All I can do is make the argument. So today, I'll be making the case for Larry Bird as the greatest basketball player of all time.
Let's get it. Making the case. Let's get it. Shout out to Clayton Crawley also for making this video too.
When it comes to basketball, Larry Bird is the smartest, clutchest player to ever play the game. Now, if you
Look, okay, before we go any deeper in this, look, I totally agree with this. I 150% agree with this. Him being one of the smartest and clutchest players, if not the smartest and clutchest player to play the game, I 100% agree. I'm not I had a lot of comments say that, now I want to address something. When I said simple, it wasn't to offend. It wasn't to say that his game isn't complex. I meant, and he was simple, and he knew what he when you watched him. When I watched him, it was like he did like 5 or 6 things, and then he did variations of those 5 or 6 things. He simplified his game down to a science, basically, where it was simple for him to do it. It might not be simple for others to do it, but it was simple for Larry. You know what I'm saying? Like, simple meaning, in my terminology, I'm using it as it was easy for him to do those things. You know what I'm saying? Like, forgive me if I'm coming off wrong, but just overall, I didn't mean simple like it's always just not, it's nothing to that. No. Like, it's simple for Larry to do it. It might not be simple for none of us to do it, but it was simple for him. His game was simple where it was easy for him to do it. just to give some clarity.
You don't think that Larry Bird is the greatest basketball player of all time? You probably hate that I just said that. Those are the kind of talking head sport cliches that surely impact the game but are impossible to empirically measure. Normally, I'd agree with you, but I think that when you talk about Larry Bird, you see those intangibles become real, palpable results. I wouldn't have said it if I didn't believe it. When Larry Bird was drafted by the Boston Celtics in 1978,
pick, right?
the NBA needed saving. Attendance was in the toilet, the league had few marketable stars, cocaine addiction had several players in its grasp, and most damning of all, playoff games were being tape delayed. Playoff games at the highest level of basketball were being put in the back seat for black and white movies and network reruns.
Gunsmoke. Somebody told me in the
Rather than
comment
join the
section
Celtics
about that.
After being taken 3rd overall, Larry Bird decided to return for his final year at Indiana State, a decision that would prove to be one of the most important in the history of the sport. Bird's final year saw the Sycamores tear through college basketball, going 33-0 before the national championship game. Bird, already claimed by the NBA's most historic and prestigious franchise, had established himself as the generational talent who would inherit the mantle of pro basketball. Indiana State's opponent in the national championship was Michigan State, captained by the immortal Irvin Magic Johnson. The Sycamores lost the championship to the more talented Spartans in the highest-rated game in the history of basketball, at any level, still to this day.
That was a good game.
The stage had been
I actually
set.
watched that. That was
the
a good
next
game.
decade
Like
of
highlights of
basketball
that
would
game.
be defined by the rivalry between the white hick from French Lick and his Boston Celtics and the black Magic and his Showtime Lakers. The rivalry between Bird and Johnson is entwined into the fabric of the NBA and is worthy of 100 documentaries. In this video, though, we're going to be looking at Bird's claim of supremacy. Here's Bird's basketball resume. His 3 championships come with
three
perhaps the highest collective
MVPs,
degree
2
of
Finals
difficulty of
MVPs,
any
12
player's
All-Star
championships.
selections, and 10.
His 3 MVPs
He did a lot, bro.
consecutively, making him only the 3rd player to accomplish the feat, along with Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. His 2 Finals MVPs are misleading. He was absolutely the best player on the '81 Celtics, but he was only a sophomore, and his 15 points per game in the finals gave the media an excuse to exact a little vengeance on a legendarily difficult interview. His All-Star and first-team selections also come with the caveat that Bird only played for 13 seasons and missed all but 6 games of the '89 season following surgeries on both.
12 of his 13 years in the league, he was an All-Star. 10 of them All-NBA teams. That's the definition of maximizing your abilities in the time frame that you're given. I hate that he couldn't have played longer because I'm pretty sure he would have crushed it as far as like with the records and everything like that. He would have crushed it. And if I'm not mistaken, the 3-point was implemented the year him and Magic were brought into the league. So if I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong, correct me in the comment section below and let me know.
Feet. I can hear you already. A 13-year career, and this guy is supposed to be the GOAT? What color of paint are you huffing, Clayton? Green, obviously. But hear me out. Yeah, Bird's career lasted about 2/3 as long as it should have. But what he did in that time was so impressive and so substantial that every basketball fan acknowledges that he's in the conversation as the greatest ever. Doesn't it matter that those 13 years saved professional basketball, delivered a disproportionate amount of memorable moments, defined the golden age of the league, and produced a career by which all other forwards, before or since, are measured? Bird squeezed every drop of talent out in those 13 years and made it seem more like 30. He didn't just leave his fingerprints on the game. He left so much of his DNA in the sport that it needed a cigarette afterwards. There's something to be said.
And let's be real. They only hold Bird to that 13-year mark. But when we talk about Michael Jordan, we only talk about 85 to 98. Nobody talks about the Wizard years. So in essence, you can't knock one player for only playing 13 and then critique a player and call him the GOAT, MJ the GOAT, for his 13. Because they don't talk about the Wizards, bro. Like, that's just like you know what I'm saying? So I think in that regard, him playing for that long shouldn't be a knock to his claim.
About the candle that lasts half as long but burns twice as bright. Those 3 MVP years stack up with any other run by any other player. I will put an A+ Larry Bird season up against anyone's. What does an A+ Larry
them stats was
Bird
crazy.
season look like? A full box score, a blowout win, a nearly undefeated record at home, and a play style that could only be described one way: white. Larry Bird isn't just a white basketball player, he's the white basketball player. To describe Larry Bird's game,
That
is
man
to
said,
thumb
"Stop putting
through
white
the
people
Hoops
on me.
dictionary and pick out
Stop putting
every
white guys
cliché
on me."
about
Do
white
you know what?
players.
That's crazy, bro.
Unathletic, great shooter, good fundamentals, the whole thing. The archetype of a white basketball player is Larry Bird, with one exception. He had an unparalleled understanding of the game of basketball, both as a physical contest and as a mental competition. His basketball IQ infected everything he did and catapulted his career into legend.
Agreed.
Bird was a complete player. Jerry West called him nearly as perfect as you can get. He was the league's first great marksman. He could contort his body to shoot from anywhere on the court, regardless of the level of defense. He pioneered the art of the dagger 3 and was the founding member of the 50-40-90 club. At 6'9", Bird's understanding
The founding member of the 50-40-90 club. And that is a gold standard in the league too. 50-40-90. If you're able to do that, you're elite at what you do.
of angles and coordination led to a higher rebounding average than Patrick Ewing, and it made him an impressively adept finisher in his younger years.
Okay.
86, Bird dropped 47 points on the Blazers, playing the majority of the game left-handed.
His lack
That's
of
crazy.
quick lateral movement meant that Bird didn't do much when it came to slapping the floor and picking up the opposing point guard, but his size and omniscience gave him the ability to body similarly sized players, read defenses like a free safety, and pick off passing lanes
Good
with
defense.
ease. His
Good
passing was
anticipation.
transcendent, and I'll highlight it later. And of course you need to know that Larry Bird was a tough MFer.
We got the
He
blood
had
on
a
the jersey.
superhuman motor and dove for loose balls like a beagle at the park. He was a willing participant in his share of fights, often precipitated by
Dr.
his
J
league-renowned trash talk.
Larry Bird told Robert Reedy to stay there. He should have stayed in preaching. That was funny. He had 50 points.
I was guarding in my rookie year. He looked at me and he goes, "You can't stop me." And I looked at him and I said,
Clyde
"God,
the Stride Drexler.
boy, you're so confident." He proceeded to score like 10 straight points on me. The coach took me out the game. He walks by and he's laughing at me.
He was a basketball genius. He'd be a step ahead, a thought ahead, play the game like a chess game.
I'd much rather guard Michael Jordan than Larry Bird because you have to play the game as a thinker when you're playing him. You have to get inside his mind.
And I heard that a lot
All of us in the
from
room,
fans
Magic,
as well as
Jordan,
players.
myself, and
They would
Bird.
rather play against
Bird
Jordan
probably be the guy who
than Larry.
walks out of the room at the end of the day.
Did you notice something during those testimonies? Those are some of the best basketball players of all time, and they all sing Bird's praises like they were former assassins who had to go toe-to-toe with John Wick and they're just happy to be alive. Bird excelled during one of the most talent-rich periods in league history. The abridged list of his basketball rivals goes like this.
Okay, let me go back to that. Because when people say
Of his
who did they have in that era? Because when we talk about the GOAT conversation, especially when we talk about it with MJ, they say who was in there during the 80s and 90s that was really, man, look at these players, bro. Y'all gonna quit playing with the 80s and 90s like they didn't have players out there. Everybody in that, they was Hall of Famers, bro. Like, I get it. This era is gonna have a lot of Hall of Famers too, but we gonna stop that. We gonna stop acting like the 80s and the 90s didn't have legitimate transcendent players, bro. Like, I don't even like that when I hear that. So can we kill that, please?
basketball rivals goes like this. Dr. J and Moses Malone on the Philadelphia 76ers, Sidney Moncrief on the Milwaukee Bucks,
Stop playing like
Isaiah
Sidney
Thomas,
Moncrief wasn't
Bill
nice.
Laimbeer and the Bad Boy Pistons, Dominique Wilkins on the Atlanta Hawks, Bernard King on the New York Knicks, Michael Jordan on the Chicago Bulls, Hakeem Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson on the Houston Rockets, and of course, Magic Johnson, James Worthy, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the Los Angeles Lakers.
He
All right,
excelled
there's no
even
point
with them in the
avoiding it
league,
any
bro.
longer. We have to look at Magic versus Larry. If you have Magic over Larry, it's because he has 5 rings to Larry's 3, had a peak that lasted about 2 or 3 years longer than Larry's, and had a 2-1 record against Bird's Celtics in the finals. Perfectly legitimate, completely respectable arguments. But in the interest of making Bird's case, allow me to retort. For nearly the entire decade of the 1980s, the Eastern Conference was irrefutably the more competitive conference between the two. Considering the competition, for Bird to have made 5 finals appearances is just as impressive as Magic's 9. As for the head-to-head record responsible for Magic's 2 extra titles, he had more help. Seriously, the Celtics' Big 3 and the Lakers' Big 3 get compared
Way
all the time
different.
historically as if they were of equal caliber, but
They weren't.
weren't Magic's accomplices just a step above Bird's? No disrespect at all.
You got to remember, like Kareem was already an MVP and a champion with the big O before that. James Worthy could have played anywhere else and been a starter. He could have led any other team. You know what I'm saying? Caliber of players. Nothing wrong with Robert Parrish and McHale, but they're Hall of Famers, but not to the level of James Worthy or Kareem. Like, just being honest.
All to Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish, but Kareem was the alpha dog on the 71 Bucks and was the best player for at least 2 of the Lakers' 5 titles.
See?
James Worthy was the #1 pick out of UNC after winning a championship as the best player on a team that had Michael Jordan on it. Throw in the fact that Magic got to be coached by Pat Riley, one of the most brilliant minds in basketball history, and you could say that the Magic Bird argument comes down to one thing: luck. So if their careers come down to luck, the question just becomes who you would rather take. Now, I'm not making this video to tell you why you shouldn't take Magic. I'm making this video to tell you why you should take Bird. Not just over Magic, but over everybody. One thing that helps him is the fact that his play would translate perfectly into the league today. A 6'9" sharpshooting forward with eyes in the back of his head who averaged double-digit rebounds in an era against Moses and Lambeer. He'd gobble up boards as a power forward. He'd be an offensive mismatch against everybody as a small ball center, and his off-ball skills and passing would pair perfectly with the flow of today's game. Add in his competitive mania and 3 generations worth of medical advancements, and we're talking about a player who could have stuck around so long they would have had to rename the league. As you've been watching the—
And that's the thing, bro. Larry, from what I was researching, he had a lot of back problems. In today's league, the technology and the medical advancements that we got, Larry could have played 24 years if he chose to. Dude was that durable. And just think about it. He played 13 with what he had going on. Imagine if he had the proper care at the time. Bro, oh my God. Buddy would have, he the all-time leading scorer maybe, depending on, you know what I'm saying? Like, he playing that long. If he was able to play 13 through that, there are players that can barely make it through 13 just today. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think he easily gets 20 or 22 plus years in the league if he's able to get his back right.
These clips of Bird, I would hope that you would notice something. He always knows where everybody is. Watching Bird play basketball is like watching those monsters from A Quiet Place that know where you are if you make any noise at all. Bird had a level of clairvoyance that bordered on the unnatural. In '85, he ended up 1 steal away from a quadruple-double after playing just the first 3 quarters. His passing was famously infectious and helped transform the Celtics of the '80s into an ideal that basketball teams at all levels are still shown tape of. They moved the ball with precision and intent, always looking for better shots and determined to get the entire team involved in the effort. That fact is almost entirely attributable to Bird and his wizardry with the ball. This acumen also helped Bird become the only player with a GOAT claim to transition successfully into other basketball roles after his playing career. In his 3 years as the head coach of the Pacers, Bird won a Coach of the Year award, coached the Pacers to their first and only finals appearance, and gave Michael Jordan as much trouble as he'd ever gotten in his career in the '98 Eastern Conference Finals. After moving into a front office role for Indiana, he won Executive of the Year in 2012, becoming the only person to have an MVP, Coach of the Year, and Executive of the Year award.
Boy, got
on the
accolades,
court or off of it, inside and
real
out,
deal
Larry Bird
accolades.
sees basketball as only he can. That intelligence also lent itself to Bird's defining skill, making the big plays. Remember, NBA players get paid to win
Rainbow
games.
shot.
James Harden is getting paid nearly $40 million this year because he's supposed to help the Rockets win games. Victory can be achieved in a lot of ways, and the win column doesn't care how it happens. As Mark Sinclair once said,
It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
but when your team is down 1 in a crucial playoff game with 8 seconds left, and you need to hit a shot to stay in the series and keep your season alive, that's where players really separate themselves and earn their money. Love it or hate it, it's the players that come through in the big moments that live forever in our memories.
Yep.
Some players, for whatever reason, were never able to do it consistently.
That was a crazy miss,
Some
bro.
players were truly outstanding at it.
Dame time.
Larry Bird was the best at it.
Funny. Too easy.
I'm not going to give you the stats about his field goal shooting under 2 minutes with a score that's this close, or tell you who has the most buzzer beaters, or any of that.
Take that for data.
I'm just going to show you clutch moments in clutch situations. 1985 against the Blazers. Bird drops 48 points, including this. Down 1 with 2 seconds left.
Inbound pass, they double team and Bird. Larry, fake, fall away. Hits it! All right!
1985 against the Hawks. Bird sets the Celtics scoring record with 60 points with shots like these.
They open the right side.
Ooh.
The fall away.
He got the oh yeah.
1986 against the Rockets. Not all of Bird's clutch moments were singular. The bigger the moment, the bigger his performance. In Game 6 of the 1986
good
NBA
shot.
Finals, Bird clinches the championship with a triple-double in what he calls the best game he ever played.
2 seconds on the shot clock.
That boy was all over the place. Respect.
1987 against the Washington Bullets. Bird hits one shot to tie it before it's waved off because of a timeout. Hits another shot to tie it up for real.
Crowd is standing up. It goes now to Bird. Bird goes up top.
And then in
He
double
made the
overtime,
first shot,
down 1,
didn't
he does
count.
this.
Made the second shot, and then made the third shot. Bro, what? Boy, you crazy. Boy, that boy hit 3 clutch shots. One that didn't count,
For 3
2,
years,
and
from
then 3.
1986 to 1988, the three-point contest knew no other champion but Larry Bird.
He's still got to drop one here quickly. 14. This is a tie for the money. Yo!
1987 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 5. Tied at 2 games apiece against the Bad Boy Pistons, this enormous game would put the winner 1 game away from the NBA Finals. The Pistons are up 1 with seconds remaining. The ball goes out of bounds off the Celtics. Isaiah Thomas just needs to inbound the ball to win the game.
Oh my! And his clutch gene didn't just limit him to scoring. Active hands, passing, all
There
equal
are
clutch
truly
moments.
too many big games and big moments for me to go through without this ending up as a documentary. But that all leads me to this, what I really want to talk about. 1987 NBA Finals, Game 4 against the Lakers. LA is up 2-1, and the Celtics need to win to tie the series and stay alive. Bird hits a 3 with 12 seconds left to go up by 2.
Good shot. Good shot. He always
Green
hit that
comes
shot
down
when you
and gets
needed him.
fouled with 8 seconds left. He makes the first, but misses the second. LA ends up with the ball with 7 seconds left, down 1 point.
In the low post, being guarded by Dennis Johnson. Byron Scott is in the ball game now.
Magic hits this, the baby skyhook.
Oh,
2 seconds left, down 1.
yo.
What do you think happens?
Oh my
I bet
God.
it wasn't that. When I
It
paused the
definitely
tape
wasn't, bro.
And the ball was hanging in the air, you thought it was going in.
I swear I thought it was
Bird
good.
thought it was going in. Magic thought it was going in. I've seen this game before, and I still think it's going to go in. But it didn't. Pat Riley said it himself. We got lucky. And that, a missed shot in the NBA Finals, is why he's the
Not that they
clutchest.
were better.
Because after he makes the big plays, has the big game,
They got
hits
lucky.
the big shots, time and time
That's
again,
respect,
you
bro.
expect him to
That's
hit
respect.
every
Like,
shot,
what?
to win every game.
They thought it was a
And in those
rap.
fleeting moments when he doesn't, when he looks like a mere human, when he looks like everyone else who tries to do what he does, you just can't believe it. That's what Larry Bird did. He made the big plays so often you thought he was going to make them every time. He helped turn basketball into a global phenomenon, paving the way for every Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, or LeBron James who comes through our lives.
Come on.
He played
Speak them
basketball
facts,
in
man.
its purest form and captained a team that is consistently ranked among the greatest of all time. He has the second highest win percentage in the history of the NBA, behind Magic by less than 0.5%, about 10
Jesus.
games. He was the complete package, a player with no holes in his game whatsoever. They called him Basketball Jesus.
Hey, Larry and Magic
He didn't
had
get that name
the
without
league
doing
in the
something
torture
extraordinary.
chamber, boy.
He
They had the league in
saved
the torture
basketball.
chamber.
And he did it by playing it better than
Bro,
anyone else.
they both have the highest win percentage and
Here's
were in the
Magic
same
at
era, bro.
Bird's
It's crazy.
retirement in 1993.
Larry Bird said that there would be another Larry Bird one day. And Larry, there will never,
Oh.
ever, ever be another Larry Bird. to the greatest
30-some
basketball player
decades
ever,
later and still ain't.
but more important, a friend forever.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much.
Yo, I enjoyed this, bro. Larry made a good case, and I feel like with, and I know this is gonna be a longer video, but I feel like we switch the criteria for what makes somebody the greatest based off of that player itself. Like prime example, they brought up the 13-year career, and they basically knock him for it. Oh, he only played 13 years. Da, 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 da. I get it. I get it. Jordan won 6, but to a lot of people, Larry is the GOAT. To a lot of people, Magic is the GOAT. But the criteria always switches with each player. What one player could get away with, the other one can't. And it's all subjective. I mean, Larry in his own right has a claim to being the GOAT. A lot of players do, actually. I'm enjoying this, bro. Thank you so much for suggesting this in the comment section below. There aren't many videos that I would do that really entice me to want to do them. This is one of them. So thank you so much. It's been a really a joy to do these videos. This is your boy Carl from Golden Grimmett Productions. The next.